Guys, I tried so hard to like this blade and to warm up to it and to warm up to the style and everything like that, and I simply could not. Today we are talking about the Kershaw Bareknuckle, and we are talking about the 20CV Smoky Mountain Knife Works exclusive. So first we're going to talk about the specs, then as always we'll talk about what I like, what I don't like, and something unique. But I kind of gave it away already. I just haven't warmed up to this design, but let's talk about it a little bit. So on the Kershaw Bareknuckle, you're talking about a 3.5-inch blade. This model is in 20 CV. You're looking at 1/8 of an inch thick on that steel. It's kind of a modified Warncliffe, I guess you could say, that blade design. Yeah, that's the best way I think you could describe it. The handle is 4.7 inches. That's an aluminum handle, and this is called a subframe lock. You can see that frame. That is actually steel, and that goes into the aluminum handle. As I mentioned earlier, this is the Smoky Mountain Knife Works exclusive, and you're looking at around $80 for this. And it also comes in a model in 14C28, and you're looking about $50 for that. And you can find those just about anywhere. So first we'll talk about what I like, then we'll kind of get into why I haven't warmed up to this blade. So first of all, I do really like the design of this blade, this kind of Warncliffe style, but with that belly right there. I think that's a really, really cool design. And this I know would be a great slicer. This would be fantastic for a lot of utility tasks. It got a pretty precise tip, but it's not overly thin. So I really do like that blade design. It looks elegant, but it also looks like business. I mean, this kind of looks like a tactical blade. And so I think it kind of mixes the best of both worlds. So the design of the overall knife, I think, is really, really nice, along with the blade. So you kind of move into the handle, and I do like the texture of this aluminum. It is not too gritty, but it's also not too slick. Like on the Code 4, it is a little bit sick, the cold steel Code 4. I think this has a little bit of grittiness to it, which allows you to hold on to it a little bit better. Along with that traction, you move on to that line of jimping, and that line of jimping is really, really nice. That's great for locking your hand in. It feels great in the hand when it comes to texture. And the last thing I really, really like, obviously, is 20 CV. For $80, 20 CV, and guess what? Look at that. American made. Guys, you can't find anything in this price range for that. This is knocking other knives out of the running with this price range and this steel. So that is a fantastic, fantastic thing. Okay, let's get into what I don't like. And this is going to be more philosophical than it is, well, I don't like this, drop point, or, it's going to be a little bit more philosophical. So this is, as I mentioned, a subframe lock knife. An issue well documented, I think, with this style, which there's a few Kershaws that come in this style, is when you are flipping this, if you have your fingers on that frame, that part of the frame, and you're pressing too hard on those, it's not opening up. It's not opening up. Okay. And I've seen a lot of people talk about this, and I've seen people mention, it's an issue. Well, it's not an issue if you get used to using a knife. There are a lot of things, tools or technology. You just have to get used to it. Like when you started driving, you were driving like 5 under the speed limit, not listening to the radio at all. And then a year later, you're turning the radio knob, what am I, 50? You're changing your things, the music on your phone, while you're driving, and you're a lot more comfortable because it's all about muscle memory. And I know the same way is with sports or martial arts or anything like that. You learn muscle memory, and so you just get used to using a tool. You get used to using the design. That being said, there is an issue with this. So I'm going to kind of try and describe this while showing it to you on camera. You guys know I have enormous, thick, fat, wide hands, kind of like clubs, and so there is an issue. I'll try to show you guys real quick. So the whole idea is, well, don't put your fingers on the subframe while you're opening the knife. And that's fair. It's not meant to be used like that. You're meant to kind of back up on the knife, not have your fingers right there. The issue that I have and have been having is because my fingers are so thick. When I back up on the knife to where they're not on the frame, I don't have much of a grip on the knife to actually push that flipper tab out. I don't have enough grip surface for me to be able to push that flipper tab out. And not only that, the detent, it feels strong. It feels almost too strong. I don't think the detent actually is strong though. I think because I'm unable to get the amount of purchase I would need to hold the knife adequately to be able to pull that flipper. See, I'm able to do it. It's just, it's not easy. And I've actually felt a bruise kind of coming on my finger because I flipped this a few times, and quite a few times. And it's so difficult. So could I get used to pulling my fingers back just in the right spot to where I had enough grip, but also had enough finger strength to be able to, undo the flipper tab? Maybe, it might be a thing that over time I would be able to get used to. But at the same time, with someone with hands as big as the hands I have, it's a very, very difficult, uncomfortable, and it's a process, frankly, I don't want to have to relearn. I know how to flip knives. I know how to open back locks and frame locks and, liner locks and, axis locks and everything like that. I know how to do that, in having to find a new skill set to open a new knife. It seems a little bit ridiculous to me. So, maybe the gripe is just because of my anatomy and how large my fingers are. The fact that I'm right-handed, because if I use this left-handed, you have plenty of room to grip right here. There's no frame on that. And your thumb rides along on the other side, if you guys can see that. So it's very easy to open up that way. The detent, I still do think, is a little bit too strong. But, the opening is very smooth and it's very easy. And if I was left-handed and that's the hand I was going to grab my knife with and use it regularly, I think I would really, really like this knife. So for lefties out there, even with big hands, I say go for this knife, especially at the price. But for righties with bigger hands, I would say anything over a medium-sized hand, it's going to be difficult to get used to. Could you? Probably, but that's not the point. When we review knives and we talk about knives, us knife people, us knife guys and gals, we talk about the things we like about knives, the things that we enjoy. When we pull something out of our pocket, we want to enjoy flipping that knife open and using that knife. I want it to be a process that I enjoy and I can show the people around me. And kind of the same thing I talked about with the Griptilian, I don't feel that way when I pull that out. And this knife doesn't feel cheap. The aluminum feels nice. Everything feels quality. But that process is just not a fun process. And there's nothing more disappointing than when you pull a knife out and you go to flick it and it won't open. It's one of the reasons I don't like safeties on my knife. So I do not like this design of knife. And that's, if you do, more power to you. If you don't have really big hands, if you have smaller hands, it probably works great for you. Or if you're left-handed, amazing. I bet this knife will work great for you. So that is my biggest gripe with the knife. I don't like the way this subframe lock is designed. And for someone with bigger hands, there's not a lot of room on this handle. There's just enough room. You can't even see it barely poking out right there. So I don't think it's a great design for people who have big hands and are right-handed. So that's my biggest gripe on it. Another thing we'll talk about, I'll mention real quickly, is this blade. If you can kind of see that, it doesn't seem to settle in that detent. It seems to move a little bit. Is that the end of the world? No, that's really not a big deal. But when I move a knife and I feel movement, it just kind of makes me uneasy, even though I know it's not coming out because that detent is very strong. So I don't love that about it. Also, and I'll kind of mention this, anytime I get a knife and the knife is made of aluminum, metal, and that's pretty much it, which is this, it's aluminum, it's, steel subframe lock. I don't know why they, put a backspacer in it. And if you do put a backspacer in it, why not make it aluminum, or why not make it a similar metal material? I don't understand it. And this knife has a polymer backspacer. I don't hate it. There's nothing really wrong with it. It just seems like a strange design choice. And the same thing on this Kershaw Leak. This is aluminum handle scales with steel liners and then a polymer backspacer. I don't understand why they chose that design, but I don't love it. I think it's kind of strange to do that. And so that's a little gripe that I don't think is the end of the world. So let's talk about something unique real quick about this knife. You're getting 20 CV at $80. Goodness gracious. It's hard to open. And really, that can't be compared to any knife on the market. I mean, I think, you know, the new Griptilians in G10 come in 20 CV and they're $170, $180. You know, you're looking at over double this price. And this is American made. This is a fantastic deal. The thing I can't get over is the design of this subframe lock. You know, if this 20 CV was on a different steel, I know they make a, I believe they make a Kershaw Lincoln M390. I think I would love that, even though I'm not a huge fan of assisted openings. I do like them occasionally, but I prefer just a nice smooth liner lock or frame lock or anything like that. So I'm complaining because I like knives a certain way, and that's how we knife people like knives. You know, we have specific things we like. And if I can't get this out of my pocket and open it up and it be a smooth process and a process I can count on every single time happening, I'm just not going to love it. And that's where I'm at with this knife. That being said, if you are left-handed or have smaller hands, I think this knife will be fantastic for you. I think it's going to be durable. I think it's going to last a long time. And that 20 CV steel is awesome. So would I recommend it? It depends. It really depends. Like I said, if you're left-handed or have smaller hands, I think you probably will like this, and maybe it will be easier for you to get used to. But overall, personally, I'm not going to hang on to this knife. I think, you know, I'll trade it for something else or something, because I can't get into this design and really enjoy it that much. Another thing I do want to mention is that pocket clip is great. I think right out of the factory, they give you a deep carry pocket clip. You know, I think that's fantastic. So there is a lot of good stuff, a lot to like about the Kershaw Bareknuckle, especially in 20 CV. But for me, there's enough to dislike to where I probably won't hang on to it that long. Let me know what you guys think of this knife, of the 14C28N version, of the 20CV version if you have it. Let me know if you love it, if you think I'm being too dramatic about that subframe lock. Make sure to like and subscribe, and we will see you in the next video. Have a good one, guys.